Hi, welcome to Gathering Paradise with Jenny O'Neill. This poem is entitled The Farmer's Wife by one of my all-time favorite poets, the Anne Sexton. So she's writing this as a housewife in the 50s. That's how she started as a poet. And I think you can feel the constraints of women's choices and having to marry, become a homemaker, that kind of thing, and the pressures of that in the 50s. You can definitely feel this in the poem. So we'll see how it goes. The Farmer's Wife by Anne Sexton. From the hodge porridge of their country lust, their local life in Illinois, where all their acres look like a sprouting broom factory. They name just 10 years now that she has been his habit. As again tonight he'll say, "Honey bunch, let's go." And she will not say. There must be more to living than this brief, bright bridge of the raucous bed, or even the slow braille touch of him like a heavy god grown light. That old pantomime of love that she wants, even though it leaves her still alone. Built back again at last, miles apart from him, living her own life in her own words and hating the sweat of the house they keep when they finally lie, each in separate dreams. And then how she watches him, still strong in the blowzy bag of his usual sleep, while her young years bungle past their marriage bed. And she wishes him cripple or poet or even lonely, or sometimes better, my lover, dead. She never killed any of her lovers. Let's just keep that in mind. But it starts out, well, first of all, this character, the protagonist, she's only named by her husband, the farmer's wife. And a farmer's wife has to do even more physical labor, but you're doing it every day. You're washing the dishes every day after every meal, which you've made by hand, because this is like the 50s. Like so she's wanting more from life, and she's questioning if there is more. Could she have access to it? Is it even sort of wrong to dream about it, right? Because she says, she hates the sweat of the house they keep. But then, when they're separate and she's watching him, and he's still strong while he's sleeping, but her young years are just flying past their marriage bed. My read is that she was a virgin when she met him. He is older, definitely. And he might have sowed his wild oats as a farmer, my goodness. And certainly men of the time had standards where that was definitely allowed. It was, you sow your wild oats, but let's make sure she has a hymen. Can we say that on YouTube? I don't really care, because I think that's important. And it's a medical term. And also, it's total puritanical illusion, because hymen does not equal virginity. I won't even get into that here. But maybe we'd get a lot of engagement. I'd get a lot of hate mail. You can break your hymen and still be a virgin. You can break your hymen through many things. Just PSA. So, I think she's like a woman who probably got married very young. So, not only are we talking about that Anne Sexton is writing this in the 50s, she's writing this, it's her first book in probably the early 50s. So this girl could have been 16. There are still crazy young legal it's legally allowed to marry someone who's 15 in different states. Like, bananas. Bananas. My opinion. My humble but accurate opinion. I think she was probably like a 16-year-old. And yes, she loved the physical connection, thought she loved him. She had to learn the ropes of how hard this job is. But a decade into it, she's probably feeling longing for so many things. Longing for other partners, longing for just a whole other life, longing to see something other than the same acres, right? This sense, Sexton uses an industrial term to describe the acres. The acres aren't beautiful nature. They are a sprouting broom factory. That is the farmer's wife's view. Like, it's just nothing beautiful about it, baby. And honestly, being a farmer is incredibly hard still. I think she doesn't even see the land that is theirs as meaningful in any way anymore. So her biggest sort of vice or sin, which is where we get this sort of winking, sly wickedness at the end. And the poem is definitely written from both Sexton's perspective, but also we're getting it's twinning and intertwining with the farmer's wife. We're not getting the farmer in here. Like, we're getting some details about him and how his wife feels about him. But her biggest, in her heart, she's watching him. And at times, she is wishing just an entirely different world. And maybe a world where she never met him. She could have been the wife of a shoemaker. She could have been a preacher's wife. She could have been a wife in some city. And now, she probably has kids with this guy. She's stuck there. And the most scandalous, treasonous things come up in her mind. Wild thoughts. And she wishes him cripple. By the by, that was a completely acceptable term of the time. And I don't really think it's fair. No, I don't think it's fair to judge literature and pieces of culture and say, oh, that's so horrible and ableist. And how could you say this to the disabled community? Well, this is what everyone called them at this time. And I think you can't judge past verbiage and their standards and with what is politically correct now. You would have to throw out the entire canon of every country's literature, basically. So I don't think you need to take offense to that statement. But if you do, drop it down in the comments below. Maybe that'll help the algorithm. I mean, it's proven that things that make us scared and make us fight get more hits. And I just want to make us love and love poetry. But I am a mouthy broad, so who knows? So there's this whole idea too of, she says, finally, at last, built back again, herself again. It's hard for this woman to even have a sense of self. She has been so part of this system, wife, mother, worker, etc. And yeah, so she's just throwing wild things out, but they're dangerous, She wishes him cripple or poet. I mean, first of all, putting those two things together, I love it, and I am a poet, and so is Sexton, because the things that she lists: crippled, poet, lonely, dead. So that's a poet's view of being a poet. But I think what she's getting at is this woman has no way to express even probably her smallest boundaries and angers. She has no way even to articulate why she feels this way. And so she's having these sudden bursts of such a palpable anger or resentment where she just wants him blotted out of her mind for a second because she is tired. She is tired. She doesn't want to have sex with him this time. She doesn't want to whatever, So she's just tired. And she's wanting so much more. So scandalously, she wishes him cripple or poet or even lonely. And then here Sexton comes in, directly addressing her lover, not the farmer and farmer's wife who are made up, directly addressing her own lover, and says she wishes him cripple or poet or even lonely, or sometimes better, my lover, dead. Like, talk about a man-eater. She's a hot mess, but she's sexy and crazy as hell. I don't know. If I was dating her and I read that part, I still would just be like, oh my goodness, yes. Kill me now. Bringing in the audience on the joke. It also softens the fact that the woman is wishing these horrible things. And there's some comedy in it, that she's even putting poet. And then she's bringing herself in. But what she's saying is like, yeah, there are femme fatales, but there are also women who just are incredibly misunderstood and stuck in horrible situations. And Sexton is letting her lover know that she is a wild woman. She is not caught like the farmer's wife. She has been let go. She has broken out. So she lets you in on that, in that like winking, sexy way. So this poem has like all this subtle social commentary. And also, I think people today can still relate. Women, but anyone, you can relate to feeling like I found my partner, this was what I was supposed to do, this was the road I was supposed to go, I did everything right, and then this is not the life I wanted, and I don't feel like my life is here at all. I don't feel a self at all. And that involves men too, and of course same-sex couples. Like sometimes one person in a couple gives up all of themselves. Everything that is theirs ends up sort of falling away. And then they do end up starved, soul starved and emotionally starved, and also like less healthy because they don't have their same friends. They just have their partner's friends. They don't do their old activities that nurtured them and made them feel a connection to this life, a connection to a greater purpose. So I think this poem resonates for all the lonely hearts out there and all the people who feel like I haven't lived my own life in my own words. And if I could, or if I could have, it would have looked so different than this. And I have a despair, but I also have a sort of tricky rage, and I don't know where to put it or what to do. I think a lot of people in life feel that. So not just wives, definitely not just women, but when you're in a life that you seem like an ancillary part of the life. The life is not you. You are part of you're a cog in a machine of the family, of the whatever. And family and marriage are incredible, but losing oneself to gain or to stabilize a marriage is not sustainable. It's not sustainable in any relationship, forget legal or not. And believe me, I've done it before. Trust me. I've given over all myself and then later regretted it and had to crawl and scrape it back. So yeah, but I think this poem is still incredible and it's 2023. So think about that.
Yeah.
It was a really fast no. I cannot yet wear a headband. I'm not that type of woman.